Welcome to Perfect Movie. What a week it's been. What a week it's been in films. Producing an independent filmmaking legend, Menahem Golan, died. He was truly groundbreaking and trailblazing in his approach to filmmaking, and with Superman 4, was the first filmmaker to prove it is possible to make Superman films rubbish. A tradition that endures to this day. He was frequently criticised for quantity over quality, and is widely regarded as one of the few filmmakers who's made more films than they've actually seen. He was always looking for new and exciting talents as well as opportunities to work with established performers. Unfortunately, not all of his films were great, and while he launched more careers than Saturday Night Live, he has ended more than Operation U-Tree. Thanks to him, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Chuck Norris were never out of work. But he did do some good things too. He had a hand in producing bona fide classics such as Mona Lisa, Powakatsi and Barfly. Menahem Golan may have made some odd spin-offs and tenuous sequels, but no purist can ever complain they weren't absolutely 100% canon. Ricky Gervais has announced that he's making a David Brent film. Why? For someone who claims to love animals, he has no problem milking something beyond all biological endurance. The cow is dry. Leave it alone. Well, you may ask, why doesn't he do something new? And let me tell you, it's not a case of old dogs and new tricks. It's more a case of ponies and one trick. This is such an unnecessary resurrection. Even Only Fools and Horses and The Master think he's taking the piss. The ALS Ice Bucket Challenge has been doing the rounds, raising lots of money for charity as well as awareness for the cause. I'm from Essex, and I'm old enough to remember when the Ice Bucket Challenge meant trying to get pubs to understand the concept of wanting to keep your wine chilled. Personally, I'd like to start up a KLF challenge where you either have to throw a dead sheep on the floor or burn £1 million. Or a KFC challenge where you have to eat a bargain bucket all by yourself. Now, who am I kidding? That's no challenge. And finally, Christopher Walken is to play King Louis in the live-action Jungle Book movie, and everyone is over the moon. They have a legitimate reason to dust off their Christopher Walken impression again, after sitting on it for so long. Hold King Louis, bang, gonna fix it for ya. And so concludes the jokes, inverted commas, of the week. In the other news, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival is finished. Excited about the Edinburgh Fringe Festival finishing. For those of you who've never been to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, I'll explain what it is. It's basically a trade fair masquerading as an arts festival for a whole month in Scotland, where comedians from London perform to tourists from London, hoping to impress media people from London so they can get more radio and TV work in London. Which begs the question, why don't we do it in fucking London? If you want the Fringe experience without going to Edinburgh, what you can do is you move to the tiniest room in your house or flat for the whole of August and pay 3 times your normal rent for the pleasure. And then every time it rains, walk 2 miles up a hill and get drunk. Making sure that everyone you've paid preposterous amounts of money to hates your guts and treats you like shit the entire time. For the extra Fringe experience, try doing your job for a whole month in a hastily cobbled together room that is boiling hot, stinks, and is completely inappropriate for what you need to do. And make sure when you go to the toilet that the toilet is either missing a lock, paper, the seat, or a light, because you'll never ever find a toilet in Edinburgh that has all 4 things at once. Also, make sure you spend the whole time being completely ignored by the people you need to impress, or for added bullshit and stress, invite a 17-year-old who has no idea who you are or what your job entails to come into your place of work and give you your yearly appraisal. And if anyone, no matter who it is, says anything even slightly nice about you, then retweet and share it immediately, because everyone must know every single nice thing that anyone says about you for the entire fucking month. That's basically what Edinburgh is without going. The venues in Edinburgh are quite weird. I've had some weird shows. I've had 2 experiences being in a weird venue. One, which is not a brick, I was in a venue that rained indoors. Because it was made of stone and was porous, so it rained outside, but eventually it would seep through. So even if it was raining outside or dry outside, it would be raining in my venue, which was not perfect. I found out it was where Burke and Hare used to hide the bodies. So where they would hide the bodies and no one would find their dead bodies, that's where my venue was. It was basically held together with asbestos and damp, and I just basically had a bit of a cough that whole time, and I've still not quite shaken it. But it's awful. Fungal infections some fungal infections are fun to get, some are not fun to get. The worst one, I did a show set up for a venue that then fell through, so they built us a tent. Which sounds great. You can do comedy in tents. It's fine. We've all been to festivals, but this was a tent on a disused building site, sort of in the middle of nowhere, on a building site that wasn't finished being built till 10 days into the festival. So the whole way through the first 10 days of my show, all you could hear was people building the venue while I'm trying to do my show. And next to it was an even bigger venue where there's no sound saturation. So there's no sound blocks, it's just sound saturation. So when their show started up and it was really noisy, all you could hear for the last half of my show was the show next to me doing their show. And it was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it was bright, but it was like bright in a way that was unhelpful because I had audio visual stuff, so you couldn't make it dark. Like putting the lights on made it darker. It was such a weird room. It was like horrible. It rained. There was like little walkways. It got to the point where by the end of it, it wasn't like I was doing an Edinburgh show. It was like I was doing a morale boosting exercise for prisoners of war. It would say, Spirit of the Fringe. I say, a waste of £7,000. It's good to get off my chest, I'll be honest with you. It's been building up inside me since about 2007. Preston Nyman!
Thank you. I love the net. And I love flicks. Pop them together. Netflix. Bullseye. Not a lot of people know that I actually invented Netflix. A couple of years ago, it was going really well in the development stages, and then those Americans completely ripped me off, and they took Netflix, which is now a huge success, international thing, and left me with the more confusingly named Petflix, which is Preston's Netflix. And Netflix is, as I say, a huge international deal, and Petflix is, to put it kindly, it's a big yellow storage unit in Stoke-on-Trent filled with in excess of 9,000 DVDs. So it's really, really not taken off. Look, I'm not saying that Petflix is a perfect business model. It's not. I haven't had the time or the money to iron out some of the larger sort of kinks in it. And Netflix has sort of developed, for example, with Netflix, the login is very straightforward, very simple. It's your email address and your password and you're in. With Petflix, it's very confusing. You get sent, or you sort of choose, but you get sent like a 4-digit code and you have to type it in. It gets very confusing. With Netflix, once you have logged in, you get a list of every single film they have that's available to watch. With Petflix, you get what's essentially an email form where you have to email me directly and ask, say if you got a sudden urge to watch the 90s children's classic Dunstan Checks In, you would email me and ask,
have you got Dunstan Checks In?
And I would reply, no, you're a grown man, why would you want to watch it anyway? Another main problem is that with Netflix, you get a wealth of films from all around the globe, loads of stars and directors. With Petflix, I really only stock Ryan Reynolds films, which commercially is suicide. It was a very bizarre investment. I was really banking on Reynolds being a lot more successful than he is.
Preston Nyman! And now it's time to welcome our special guest to the show. So will you please welcome Nat Luurtsema!
Hi!
Welcome. So, before we get started properly, for those who don't know who you are, would you like to explain to everyone who you are?
Oh, well, hello. I'm Nat Letzima. I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm a scriptwriter, and I'm an actor, and I do sketch comedy with my sketch group Jigsaw, and then previously a sketch group called Superclump, now I think about it. And I write books. I've got one in the shop, so I've just written my second one. People sometimes call me a polymath, which is very kind, but if you could see my bank account, you'd go for dilettante. You'd go, settle at something, you might earn a regular wage.
It's very good. But it's the reason obviously you're here is because obviously I know you from the circuit, I know you and you're very good. But also because this is a film podcast, and you have, in fact, let's not hide the fact you have written a BAFTA-nominated short film.
Yeah.
And acted in it, but
but the writing was better than the acting. We all accept that. But then the thing is, that's the only film I've ever made. So in one way, great, and in another way, Making a little go a long way there.
Sort of false positives.
Pretty much.
Oh, this is easy. Everyone said it was hard. I wrote one, nominated for a BAFTA.
Really easy, guys.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah, so why did you write it? If did you sort of think, I want to write a short film that's going to win a BAFTA?
I don't write it. I guess the days were just dragging a bit. Sometimes they do in this job, don't they? And you're just like...
Every day.
Yeah. And I think I was squabbling with Jigsaw at the time for reasons that are probably mine. I'm the victim of my hormones, and I just thought I'd just go and do something by myself. And so I just wrote a little film about. I'd read a news story about in Iceland, sperm banks were having to be closed because the communities were so small. You might end up with family junk. And I thought, well, that's a story, isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
And I wrote a film.
Yeah, it's very funny. I've seen it.
Thanks.
My favourite. I haven't seen it. Of course I've seen it. But I had to. Admin. No. I'd seen it before the podcast.
It's got my arse in it, Rich. Don't be silly.
No. Yes, it has.
Pre-quitting smoking. Pre-quitting smoking arse was a much fun. Oh well.
But it was. That is actually one of the really. I do like. That is actually a really funny scene when he goes swimming at the beginning. I don't want to give away all the good lines here, but I just like the. It's like an ice cream headache over my whole body. That's like. That scene. I meant to like dive into the sea, and it's meant to be like like a beautiful beach scene. Then I dive in the sea, and I just swear copiously because it's really cold, and I like stagger back out. The trouble was, it really was so cold that I staggered out, and the director was like, "We haven't really got that. Can we go again?" And I said, "Go fuck yourself." And I went and sat in a Fiat for a while with the heating on. And one by one, they were like, the DOP came up to the window. "Hi, we go back in the sea?" "No, window back up." Well, maybe you shouldn't have written yourself a part where you had to be freezing cold in the sea.
It was stupid in many ways. I would only do it if both cameramen and director and DOP all got in the sea with me, because I like to share misery around. Everyone was ill. Yeah.
Or is it Cornwall?
Cornwall, yeah. Because we were making out that it was called Island Queen, so we were pretending we were filming on an island. So we thought Cornwall has loads of coastline, which is quite clever. Less clever is it's like a 7.5 hour drive from London, so everyone was really tired by the time they got there.
Yeah.
And the petrol costs were staggering.
Well, if you're only paying everyone expenses, as often happens with short films, for example, I don't know what the deal was, but they go, "We'll just pay your travel." What, to Cornwall? Because I might as well stay in London and pay everyone. That would be the easiest thing. Yes. Yeah,
with hindsight. I mean, first film I ever wrote, but I would have done that differently. Yeah, there's definitely scenes in that film where if you just dipped the camera down, you can see sleeping bags all over the floor because that's where everyone was sleeping.
What's good about it as well, because a lot of times you watch a short film, you get the feeling it's either like a joke stretched out, like if it's not like a horror or it's not gangster, it's basically like it's a gag stretched out, sort of doesn't really work, or it's kind of like a sitcom pilot that they couldn't quite get together. Whereas
it's the pull back and reveal joke that annoys me when like that, like you'll have a 10-minute film and it's shot really beautifully, but it's basically a pull back and reveal, and like. Hands up, I've made one of them, and it was only 2 minutes long. But like it, ended with a blowjob joke. We all had a lovely time. Not me. It was Tom giving it to Dan. I was elsewhere. But yeah, and then right at the end there's a pull back and reveal, and you're like, that's not a film, that's a gag.
Yeah.
Come on now. Tim Vine had done that in 20 seconds.
Yeah. So that's what was good about it. It was actually a short film, like and it was also start mid. It actually did it all. It was good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It was like
it was a proper short film, like and I've watched a lot. I used to teach. Like media studies, so I used to spend most of my time watching student films. I used to run short film nights in Southend, and I've watched a lot of short films, and almost all of them are terrible.
Is that how you begin your talks?
Yeah.
You're going to make some terrible films.
Yeah, just so you know, I would say to her, I'll tell you now what you shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
You won't listen to me, but let me know. You don't want. You're 16 years old, so don't have guns. If you're not, unless you're making like Bullet Boy or something, like just you in a suit doesn't make it a gangster film. And if you are going to have guns, like invest in squibs or something, or blood, or so people don't just go and like you're making a silent,
And if you're going to have your mates in it, and your mates are girls, don't ask them to get naked, because that's really creepy for everyone watching that, because you're only 16 and you don't realise the whole cinema's just like, confusing.
Yeah. So it was good. So, but when you get told like you've been nominated, how does it work? Because obviously, I'm guessing you're the only person that's been nominated for a BAFTA in the room at the moment. Anyone else?
I mean, so it doesn't sound too dick swinging on the podcast. There's not a lot of us in this room.
No,
if we doubled the numbers, maybe we doubled the chances.
It's also funny, we are not doing this at the BFI, so this is just like this isn't like. So tell me, the Academy, how many have you been nominated for a BAFTA? How many of you are basically?
That's quite a lot. Okay.
Yeah, I see a lot of very pretty seat fillers. Don't see an awful lot of actual talent.
You mainly make film references that
That's
I
true.
smile at and I don't get because I don't know a lot about films. I don't really. It's amazing we're friends because I spend so much time smiling vacantly at you and you just go, fine, we'll move on.
Yeah.
It's like being friends with someone who's permanently got concussions.
Yeah. I just imagine it's flirting and I just feel really good about myself.
That's it. I should stop touching, I suppose. You find out you've been longlisted for the Bafta, and then you're like, we're not going to be shortlisted. So you're like, let's just really enjoy this time of being longlisted because soon our dreams will be crushed. And you find out like just before Christmas, and you're like, okay, you're going to crush my dreams just before Christmas. Seems a little twatty, but all right then. And then just before Christmas, you find out that, wow, you're on the fucking shortlist for a film you made for £980, and you wrote in a week, and you filmed in 3 days, and you jump up and down in your bed until you can't breathe. Then you remember you're 31 and you get off it. That's specific to my experience, but I think I'm sure everyone had that.
So you get to go. So they have the big thing. It's the big award. Is the BAFTAs is it at the BAFTAs or is there a special short film BAFTAs?
It's at
or is it,
no. We're allowed to like hang out with all the big cheeses. I got my seat number wrong, so I sat down right there at the front, and I was like, Angelina Jolie, Leonardo DiCaprio. Emma Thompson, and they all looked at me, and I looked at them, and I looked at my thing. I was like, I think I'm in the wrong seat. excuse me. They're all tiny. And then the short film people, we sit right on the back row, and you know immediately you're not going to be on TV because the cameras come right over your head, and they kind of completely cut you out. Yeah. But it's pretty good. But the short film award is announced first, and so right at the beginning you're like, oh, we didn't win. And you sit there through the whole ceremony feeling a bit sad and hoping your mum has taken the news all right.
yeah.
She didn't.
Yeah. These things are always like, oh, it'd be great if you won. Yeah, like, you end up not caring because everyone else gives so much of a shit when you're possibly going to do something awesome.
And you feel that, and you're like, I don't care. It's just amazing to be nominated. It's just amazing to be nominated. And then when they get the envelope out, you're like, I would kill a baby to win. And I was ready to like leave my seat, and then they announced, and I was like, that's not the name of my film. Oh no! And
they just announced just the short film. There's no sort of like best short script or best short performance or best,
I feel pretty tolerated just as best short film. Yeah. No. So there's such a jump between us and then Baz Luhrmann, and you're like, yeah.
But it's interesting though because if you think about how often because of just money, short films are a collaborative process that the film itself goes. So it's weird who goes and who would go and say that's our film, well done. Would you all go up or would you just?
Well, we just had one guy who gave us money, so it was just like a businessman who could write off £1,000 for tax reasons. So it was just like have £1,000, so we just brought him with us. So it was pretty simple, really. All the other short films are 50 grand or more. 50 grand? Can you imagine?
Yeah. That's.
You can imagine. You own imagination.
No, but then it does. Your film doesn't look. It doesn't look cheap, and you can tell it's a low budget thing. But it
doesn't look 50 grand.
But it's very low. But it's it's proper location. It's location shooting, so it's not sets and But it's it's the coastline, or it's in the street, or you're on the beach, or
if you watch it, at any point when there's acting on screen, be aware there's at least 3 students behind the camera trying to placate people who own the thing you're currently filming in, going, "We'll just be a minute. Sorry. We have permission for nothing."
Was it? So what happened actually on the boat? Did you just film on the boat? Was that all right for the boat?
We got on the boat and we took our camera equipment. We said to the captain, we were like, "Can we film our film on your boat?" And he was like, "Oh, how exciting!" And he stopped in the middle of the sea, and he was like, "I'll stop as long as you want." And after a while, the tourists were like, "We've got to get back." And he was like, "Excuse me, I'm filming a film here." Like, all right then.
That's brilliant.
But as soon as you leave London, in London, people are a bit like, yeah, we had that Ken Loach filming here the other day. If you go to Cornwall, they're like, oh, amazing.
Yeah.
It's fun, isn't it?
Does winning, not winning, sorry.
No, just say winning. We're all busy people, just say winning.
Does the BAFTA nomination sort of, is it one of those, isn't it all that, does it mean anything, in the grand scheme of things? I don't think that's a horrible thing, but is it one of those?
Yeah, no, it's a really fair point. It's like, I've been asked to write a screenplay for a feature film now, and I guess maybe he wouldn't have asked me if I hadn't been nominated, but maybe he would have, because he read my book and liked it. So I remember talking to Tim Key after he won the Foster's Perrier, whatever it was, and I was like, "Oh, has your life changed?" And he was like, "No, I just think it'll always help a bit." And I think it'll always help a bit.
Yeah. So it's time for the hashtag game, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that heard the show before, you know what this is. For those of you that haven't, this is where we do a hashtag game like you get on Twitter. So this is fruit movies. So movies based around fruit. So I'll go first with a couple. We've got Big Top Kiwi, Lime Cop, Krakatoa East of Guava, Rhubarb Wire.
I know that film. Finally a reference I get.
Juniper Ascending, and Mango and Cash.
Yay!
So, Preston, do you have something you'd like to?
I've gone almost exclusively with Jim Carrey films. So I've gone Plum and Plumber,
Yes!
Fruit Almighty, Grape Ventura, Pet Detective, I Love You, Philip Morris, and then kind of stretched, but Papaya is Liar Liar. The best, some would say.
Yes. Splendid. Nat, would you have your...
I've got Banana Karenna. Thanks, guys. Meet Joe Blackberry. Raisin Arizona. Not mine, that one. Date night. Didn't need any work. So it's not a fixer-upper. You just move right in. It's fine. The Thin Red Lime. And then, hang on. I had to go to paper. I've never heard of this film, but you mentioned it earlier. So Barflychi.
Yes.
Banani. What? Oh, come on, guys. Come on. What lychee's beneath? Yeah, all right. Yeah, now you're back on. Figsy Malone. Or Bugsy Melon. It's really up to you on that one. You've gone with the latter, but that might just be how lists work. And Boysenberry's in the Hood.
Lovely. Brilliant. You could also have had Fig, Pear Spray, Planet of the Grapes, The Plum Diary, Anne of Green Gages, What Dreams May Kumquat, and The Chronicles of Banania.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
And so concludes the hashtag game.
Woo!
So, now we come to the bit we choose your favourite scenes from films. So, your favourite beginning, middle and end scenes from movies. And so let's go straight ahead. Before we start, there's any scenes or films that you wanted to do that we couldn't do? Because obviously this is not a visual medium. It's for a podcast. So there are lots of films which are brilliantly visual. I, for one, am particularly fond of the film Immortal Beloved, starring Gary Oldman as Beethoven. And there's a bit where he gets a woman gets a piano delivered, and she's hides, so he'll know he'll play it. So she gets a secret rendition of Beethoven playing, and he plays Moonlight Sonata. But he doesn't play. He's basically just made up Moonlight Sonata to play the piano, and he's deaf, but no one knows he's deaf. So he's playing it, and as he's playing it, he knows he's just written Moonlight Sonata, so he keeps trying to put his ear to the piano so he can hear Moonlight Sonata, because he's playing it, but he can't hear it, even though he's just written it. And it's really sad, because he ends up playing it with his ear, like his head on the piano, trying to listen to it. And then she's watching, and she's really sad. He's like, he's deaf. Oh my God. And that's brilliant, like one of the best scenes ever, but doesn't really work on a podcast. So, obviously watch Immortal Beloved. But are there scenes you came up with where we had the same?
What Rich is skirting around is that he asked me for these 4 scenes, and I sent them all back, and he was basically like, Nat, they're pretty all dialogue free, and it's a podcast. Could you have a rethink? And I was like, doy.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
I wasn't going to bring it up. I really love the beginning of WALL-E. Oh, God. Mainly because, I don't know if you saw WALL-E in the cinema, right? But before it comes on, there's like 6 adverts featuring WALL-E that are like for Hoovers, for Coca-Cola. I mean, that little robot whored his ass before he even reached cinemas. And like, it was just me and my friend and a load of children. And we saw 6 adverts featuring WALL-E. And then WALL-E begins, and there's that tiny little robot scurrying across the desert. And a little kid near me went, "Who's that?" The guy from the adverts, mate. But WALL-E breaks my heart. But then I find it like in Castaway, when Wilson, the basketball, I empathise so much more with Wilson than Tom Hanks's character.
Yeah. In many ways, it was a film about Wilson.
It really was, wasn't it? Yeah. You can just draw a face on an orange, and I'm like, ooh, the adventures of the orange. What will happen to that crazy guy and his mother issues? And also the beginning of Up. I thought everyone would have done it, and I can't watch it without losing my shit.
Well, I think it's like Up's great, But for me, you just need... It's like emotional porn. I don't need any more than the first 11 minutes. Beyond that, it's like, there's no point whatsoever because I'm spent...
That's exactly my cum shot. I'm just like, those first 10 minutes, that's got me.
You just sit there and you're like, this is good. And then after like 9 minutes, you're like, I'll never be that happy. I'll never have that.
That unhappy. It's so complicated. Yeah. I get it with Lord of the Rings as well. I'm just like, Helm's Deep. Yeah. Thank you. That's what I wanted.
Well, I've always thought it'd be nice. I would like if we ever did the video thing again. I'd love to do,
the Mines of Moria.
Mines of Moria. I always thought the Mines of Moria would be great. That scene would be great if you put the theme tune to Nightmare over it. And it just would be fantastic. So it's just like like just running through, and it's like, where am I? You fucked.
It's like that Jurassic Park scene, when someone's played over it with a little like mouth organ.
So your favourite opening scene? Is the Lost World Jurassic Park.
Controversial guys. I think mainly why I like it is because trouble is coming, because the film, and also because they're British, and British people in Hollywood films, are evil and deserve a hell of a lot of stuff. It's like Russians are now, British people used to be.
Yeah.
And I imagine the Chinese will be in 10 years, but let's not preempt the racism.
Yeah.
And, and they're posh. And then with that little girl sees the compies, and you're like, one compy is fine. But 10, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And also, I've read the book, so.
But also, because have you all seen The Lost World Jurassic Park 2? You all seen The Lost World Jurassic Park 2?
Of course, you've lived a life. Preston, you're very young. Have you seen it?
I've seen one. I haven't seen the other two.
Too busy, mate? Come on now.
Yeah.
Coming up with magic tricks.
I think it's fair to. I think as long as you've seen the first one, that's fine. It's like when you go, what have you seen? I've seen Jurassic Park 3. None of the other two? No. Just the third one.
It's like when people say to me, have you seen Star Wars? And I'm like, bits of. Pastiches in The Simpsons. I feel I've got the idea.
Yeah. It is weird. It would be nice to meet someone who's never seen the Star Wars films to know if they would actually know everything that happened in the Star Wars films.
Yeah, I've watched bits of the Star Wars films. They've never seen them. Yeah, there was that bit where, like, the man, Mark Hamill, who had the car crash and his face went weird, and he was like, this is how I know Star Wars, by odd references. And he was running through the forest with Yoda on his back, and I was like, that's why the rucksack is shaped like that. The Yoda rucksack that you put over your back, it's meant to look like he's carrying Yoda. How interesting. Yeah. I had no idea. I was just like, why would you want that? Weird.
Yeah.
Been nominated for a Bafta, so it doesn't matter that I'm ignorant. No. It's fine, doesn't it?
Have you read the Jurassic Park books?
Yeah.
Have you read the Jurassic Park books? Have you read them? Anyone's read them? Because what's interesting about there being the second film, which is they made the first book, then they made the film based on the book. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of knew they were going to make the second one. So they kind of wrote the second... I'm not sure exactly how, but basically they wrote the second one knowing they were going to make a film of the second one. So I'm not sure how much of a tie it is. But the problem is, loads of the first book is in the film of the second one. So this opening to Jurassic Park 2 is in Jurassic Park 1. That's how you know there's problems. That's how you know they've got off the island and there's problems, because... The first book of Jurassic Park doesn't have the brilliant shoot her bit. They just have a problem with some bloke in a hospital who's dying who looks mangled. But also, if you've seen the book, the first book, I'm talking about like problems with the books, like spoiler alert, Ian Malcolm and John Hammond die in the first book. But Ian Malcolm comes back in the second book. Because apparently
do you love that thing they do at the beginning of chapters, where like they show a little bit of DNA and a little bit more of DNA, and by like the 13th chapter, it forms the shape of a dinosaur, and you're like, oh, I never saw it coming. But with hindsight, it is a bit obvious.
I wrote my GCSE coursework on the book Jurassic Park when I compared it to the Andromeda strain and about the differences of threats of monsters based on size of monster versus organisms versus giant killer monsters. But yeah, this is good, because the thing about Jurassic Park 2 is I liked it, but it's a weird film. Because a lot of it's shit, but lots of it's really good, like most films. But it does the thing where in the first one, I get when I watch movies, I get really, really annoyed if there's like the kid, basically any children films. I don't like it because
the kid in Jerry Maguire. Come on. What's he up to?
Didn't he just get into like bodybuilding and looks really sort of hardcore? He looks like a bullet, doesn't he? He looks.
It's weird being a child star because, like, very few of them grow up the way they should, and I reckon it's quite pedo-y. It's like when they cast Hermione Granger. I reckon they probably met her mum and kind of did a little squint and were like, she'll probably be fit. Probably. I mean, I know she's 7, but.
Yeah.
Do you remember Sally in Home and Away? Looked like she was going to be really fit.
Also, so when they have the kids, in Jurassic Park 1, it's fine because you have the kids, they're like, no, so it's fine. They're the kids, they've gone, it's fine. It makes sense that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not just a device to make you give a shit because everyone's in danger. Whereas this is like, let's bring his daughter along, and it's like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
But also, it's this idea in these movies that it's not terrifyingly dangerous and no one would give a shit unless a child's in danger.
Yeah.
As if it's like, oh my god,
you're assuming a lot
there's
about
a
me and my
nuclear
maternal
bomb.
instinct.
A nuclear bomb's going to destroy London. Your daughter's in London. Oh my god, now I give a shit. Now I give a shit.
She's shorter than normal people, therefore I love her more.
And but also the fact that they just do stupid things, and you have to spend the whole time going, oh, we got to go and save her. And you go, well, of course you have. But like, her job is just to be stupid and get into trouble. And you go, just fucking let her die. I even watched Aliens. I was, we got to go and get you. Like, ta-da. Let's get on the fucking spaceship and get out of here.
If there was an apocalypse and we had children in the group, I'd be like, I'm sorry, but I'm going to kill them all because they will hold us back. They're going to hold us back, and we'll just make more. It'll be fine.
Did you, you know that one of the reasons Vince Vaughn is in Jurassic Park 2 is because of Swingers. And do you know this about Swingers?
Do go on.
They use the Jaws music in Swingers, so Spielberg had to give his approval for the Jaws music used in Swingers. So he watched like the first cut of Swingers and was like, "Oh, that guy's really good. We should put him in Jurassic Park
No
too."
way.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, so Manx paraphrase. That's basically why he came to his attention.
How funny.
Jurassic Park 2. Obviously, we all know what's his face. Jeff Goldblum's a dude. But,
such a dude.
But Pete Postlethwaite's fucking great in Jurassic Park 2.
Isn't he?
I forget what's his. I forget. His, brilliant. I mean, I can't do a good impression, but I do love his voice.
Because you think that Pete Postlethwaite is only really good in like kitchens in the north of England, but actually, if you put him on an island like near sort of Costa Rica, he's very good as well.
Brilliant.
He's not geographically contained.
Yeah. Which is like, there's a line. On this island is the greatest predator known to man. The second greatest is going to take him down. And
that one about like this being like basically a buffet tray.
Yeah, Julianne Moore did this apparently to pay for a divorce bill.
Wow, the John Cleese approach.
Yeah. But she's quite good at it. As the lots of screen time doesn't really do anything woman in a Hollywood movie.
I'll tell you what, that's the thing with Jurassic Park. In 1, 2 and 3, I mean, not a lot of totty. Like, you know, women are in it, but like they don't ever go for like a Megan Fox, do they? No. Which you have to admire and slightly miss. Me and Izzy Sooty were comparing notes on auditions, and we said that we both went up for things that were not immediately attractive. And we love the thought that someone would be talking to us for 2 hours and suddenly be like, hang on, you've really grown on me like a fungus. Okay, back to the man.
There's about 25 parts though, isn't it? It's quite difficult.
I want to be the man and you can be the child and the woman.
Okay. So you want to be Paul.
I'm Jeffrey and Paul. You're Kathy and Deirdre.
Okay.
No, wait. Maybe we should farm this out to other people.
Well, I think Preston should come back and do one of the parts. Surely Preston should come back.
Come on, Preston.
Why don't you be? Preston. Woo!
Preston, come and be our child.
Preston.
Because I imagine if we had a child, you know, sort of like you.
Because you used to be, you know, young. Now you're old. Now you're old and withered. Former child star, Preston Nyman. Why don't you be Kathy?
I would love
to. Who's the girl? So, a beautiful island coastline. We see lovely. I'll be the narrator as well. We see lovely, beautiful sandy beaches and the expensive boat moored out at sea. Various waiting staff are walking along, holding expensive bottles of wine, which are poured into champagne flutes-type glasses. Conversations are heard off screen. I love you. Thank you so much. Fabulous. A glass of white wine is poured. Thank you, Jeffrey.
You're welcome.
We'll take a bottle of red as well, thank you.
Certainly.
Right, now, the camera has reached the party. We see the family. Paul Bowman is handed a glass of wine.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Bernard. You're welcome.
Kathy Bowman takes a sandwich from a serving tray.
Thank you.
Wonderful, beautiful day. Sweetie, where are you going?
Eating my sandwich.
Well, don't ruin your appetite. We're having prawns, your favourite.
I don't like prawns.
Now, darling, don't wander off.
For God's sake, leave her alone, Deirdre.
Sweetheart, come and play with your ball.
You're so annoying.
Kathy wanders off away from the party at the shore as Deirdre rushes back. Oh, Oh, but what about snakes?
There aren't any snakes on the beach. Just let her enjoy herself for once.
We're with Kathy. She's away from everyone. She skips and dances along holding her sandwich. She walks into a wooded cove area. A strange noise gets her attention. She looks at foliage next to her. More rustling from a compy. More rustling, then a compy pops out and stands in front of her.
Well, hello there. What are you? Are you some sort of bird or something?
She breaks off part of her sandwich and offers it to the creature.
Are you hungry? Take a bite. It's roast beef. It's good. Go on, I won't hurt you.
The creature takes it and eats it, seemingly enjoying it. Kathy stands up and turns back towards her parents and shouts,
Mummy, Daddy, you've got to come see this. I found something.
She turns around and looks shocked. There are loads of them now and they look a bit threatening. They approach her and all seem to want a piece of her roast beef sandwich. No euphemism intended.
Yeah. Richard.
Back at the shore, lunch is ready when Deirdre shouts out, ah! Back with Kathy, she's walking towards the ship, circled by combies who occasionally jump up at her sandwich, which she's holding above her head.
Are you looking at this? I'm afraid there isn't enough to go around.
She freaks and screams and throws the sandwich to the floor. Half the creatures go for that, the other half go for her. Her screams get the attention of her mum and dad and crew, who rush over and go to help. We linger on the mother, who is totally freaked out and screams. Ah! Jurassic Park 2.
Jurassic Park 2.
Yeah.
Woo! I think what I love about this is how much Paul hates his wife. If you watch it again, you're just like, man, you have just had affair after affair, and she will not leave. It's a great way to begin.
Yes. So your next scene, your favourite next scene. The order are they okay for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your next favourite scene.
What's this one? What are you holding? Looks different to mine.
I've just got notes.
Oh.
Came prepared.
Okay. Me not so much.
That's fine.
I had a good clear out.
It's about your enthusiasm. It's about me keeping the admin together.
Well, what film? So he says swinging beer. It's just about me being right on top of the admin.
I'm holiday.
Blah, blah, blah,
This is like a holiday for me. The next film we're going to do is adaptation. I believe.
God! Not to be all like, I know, right? I know. What a sucker punch. Yeah, not to be all genuine about it, but this scene really does this scene always makes me cry.
Oh, well, we'll see if we can recreate that.
Can I be Donald Kaufman because I'm like the idiot savant? And you can be Charlie.
Any of them. Whoever you want.
We're both Nicolas Cage, basically,
yeah.
right? Basically.
Oh.
So we're in a swamp and we're surrounded by alligators, and Meryl Streep and that man with bad teeth is coming to find us.
Chris Cooper.
Thanks. I'm not very good with films. And Charlie looks down on Donald, but really shouldn't, for reasons that will become clear.
What's interesting about this is that, because they're playing the two brothers. Do you know that they...
I got that.
But he credited... Charlie Kaufman credited both of them, and so it's like Donald and Charlie, and they were nominated for the Oscar, and there was a note saying that if they won, only one of them was going to be allowed to go and collect the award, even though one of the people doesn't exist.
I love Charlie Kaufman. I really feel like he puts a bit of bloody effort into it, frankly.
Yeah. This is one of this. The thing is, I do like this. I did have problems with this film when I watched it. Well, only just because it was the first time I got slightly irritated by the cleverness of it slightly. Only, but not bad. I don't hate it. I like it. I would say.
I'm not going to fight with you.
No.
I felt it had enough heart that the cleverness. Was worn lightly.
That's why I like it. I liked it, but it was almost like it's the first time where I went, oh, you're doing that thing where you mention something and then it's in it later, which then became really unsubtle.
But to be fair, as stand-up comics, we do that shit all the time. And people laugh because they're just like, I remember that thing from 20 minutes ago. And you're like, it's just synapses. Yeah. But come on then.
But this is like different to sort of what they call, is it the Chekhov's rifle they call it? Where it's like if you see
if there's
a gun
in the first act, then you've got to fire it by the second.
But it's all that thing where it's like, just make sure Act 3 is good and everyone will forgive you, and then the Act 3 is really exciting. And you just kind of go, it was good, but it's all that kind of stuff. I kind of go, yeah, I get it. But thankfully the film itself was really, really good. But since this film, lots of other people have done that, those kind of, and it very clumsily, and you kind of go, so this is like the first time I noticed that that's not something
really
I
fair.
really like.
When you see a load of people doing a shitty version of something, when you then watch the original that was amazing and inspired all the shitty interpretations of it, you're just a bit like, nah, and you don't really give it what it deserves because you've only seen the bad imitators.
But also, I get really annoyed with spoilers. But I don't want the film I'm watching to spoil itself by telling me what's going to happen in Act 3. So this is the bit where they're in the swamp and they think they're going to die.
Yeah.
So you're Donald.
Yeah.
They'll find us.
I don't think so. Hang on, are you doing the accent?
Well, I don't know. Not really. I'm just not doing my voice. The difference.
All right, Rich, that's fucking chaos, but all right.
Do it as you want.
Do over.
Okay. They'll find us.
I don't think so.
I don't want to die, Donald. I wasted my life. God, I've wasted it.
You did not, and you're not gonna die.
I wasted it. I admire you, Donald. You know? I spent my whole life paralyzed worrying what people think of me, and you're just oblivious.
I'm not oblivious.
No, you don't understand. I mean that as a compliment. There was this time in high school I was watching you out the library window. You were talking to Sarah Marsh.
Oh, God. I was so in love with her.
I know. And you were flirting with her, and she was being really sweet to you.
I remember that.
Then, when you walked away, she started making fun of you with Kim Kennedy, and it was like they were laughing at me. You didn't know at all. You seemed so happy.
I knew. I heard them.
How come you look so happy?
I loved Sarah, Charles. It was mine, that love. I owned it. Even Sarah didn't have the right to take it away. I can love whoever I want.
But she thought you were pathetic.
That was her business, not mine. You are what you love, not what loves you. That's what I decided a long time ago.
Scene, yes!
And so I began stalking people.
And keeping with the Kaufman thing, we actually keeping on with the next scenes from being John Malkovich.
Bloody love Kaufman.
Yeah.
And I've only seen 6 films, so you know.
But I do,
like
but I
12.
really like this one. Like, you know,
Yeah.
all the, this is great because all his stuff that's a bit weird is more like visual interesting story things, not like foreshadowing and, you know, it's all crazy stuff, which I like much more. And I saw this not knowing a single thing about it. We went
me
to
too,
the
actually,
BFI. It was on at the BFI, so I went to see it because it was the new John Cusack film. I didn't see the trailer, hadn't seen the post, just went and watched it. I thought, what the fuck is this? Am I watching a film about John Cusack being a puppeteer? And I was like, this is great. And then it suddenly became this whole other thing. I was like, brilliant. I assumed that being John Malkovich was going to be metaphorical or something, you know, like, great.
Yeah. And I also like, but that's the thing, like, because I've got like an education in like literature and really old literature, and just occasionally when a film touches upon that, you're like, I didn't know that was relevant in any way at all. And it's like, it's Eloise and Abelard, isn't it? Alabard. Yeah. You said Alabard and Heloise, but I think is that.
Oh, that's just how it's written on the thing. I think. So, you know, it doesn't matter.
Well, anyway, it doesn't even matter. But like, yeah.
Well,
I always thought that was a beautiful story,
but,
and then the fact that Charlie Kaufman thought it was a beautiful story as well, and turned it into a puppet show. It's just so much extra thought and care and love that I just.
Yeah.
But still funny, still very funny, because as a kid watching 2 puppets fuck a wall.
And it's one of those things that is really funny, which could be not funny, but is funny. You know, it's one of those things where this could be not funny because it's like, oh, I see, they're doing the thing where,
like Little Miss Sunshine. That was one of the scenes that I really wanted to do tonight. Was like Little Miss Sunshine was right at the end of the beauty pageant when she starts doing that dance, and it's like a really sexual dance, and you suddenly think, fucking hell, you never questioned what that like smack addicted grandfather was teaching her. Of course, it's something inappropriate. Of course, it's terrible, and it's so brilliant, and she just commits to it completely. It's beautiful.
So who do you? I wrote in Nat and Rich, but I just thought you might be the girl, I'd be the boy, but I don't want to adhere to strict gender stereotypes.
Be child.
You can be the child.
Sorry, mate.
And shall I be the dad?
You've been typecast.
Or do you want to be the dad?
Yeah, I'll be the dad, and you be narrator.
Yes, I'll be the narrator, and Rich, who is obviously not. He's one of the classics. A street. A boombox cassette player plays dialogue as the beautiful scene from Alabard and Heloise plays.
I think it's Eloise and Abelard, but all right.
Abelard, I don't know. It's fine.
It's fine.
Pennies are thrown in the money box, but most people ignore it. And this is like the scene as the marionettes are playing. So basically, you're in a sort of cell writing a letter, and I'm in a cell writing a letter.
And I'm like an old pupil, and he's like a monk used to teach me, but we fell in love, and we're puppets. Okay, guys? While we enjoy the pleasures of an uneasy love and abandon ourselves to fornication, we were spared God's severity.
Say no more, I beg you, and cease from complaints like these, which are so far removed from the true depths of love. A kid and a parent are walking along the street.
Look, a puppet show.
Okay, kid, just for the minute. Mummy's waiting. They go to watch the show as it continues.
Even during the celebration of Mass, when our parish should be pure, lewd visions of these pleasures take such a hold upon my unhappy soul that my thoughts are on their very wantonness instead of my prayers. Sometimes my thoughts are betrayed. Sometimes my thoughts are betrayed by the movement of my body.
I took my fill of my wretched pleasures in you, and this was the subtotal of my love. pulls while the puppets yearn for each other on each side of a wall, getting more and more lascivious as the kid looks on. They basically start gyrating and dancing and sort of...
They're war fucking.
Wall fucking each other.
Fucking.
Wall fucking. Dad, who hasn't been paying attention, turns around to see what can only be described as puppet porno. You motherfucker! He punches John Cusack, knocking him out. Scene. But a great payoff is the next scene is when he goes in the pet shop with his camera and sees his bruises and goes, oh, not again.
Yeah.
Nat, tell us about your favourite final scenes from any film ever.
Oh, my favourite final scene from any film ever. Obviously, Bugsy Malone. Big fan of that final scene with all the sing-along. But I think maybe my favourite is the end of the Truman Show.
Yeah.
Because it's when like he reaches the edge of his world and then he steps outside it. And I remember seeing the first film, obviously because I hadn't watched enough films, but when I saw Men in Black, and at the end of it, it zoomed out and it zoomed out and the whole world was just a marble being played with by an alien. I was quite young and I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
I think the correct
amazing.
modern parlance is mind.blown.
I believe that's what the children say.
Yeah.
Preston, confirm. Yes, absolutely. That's what they say. Auntie Nat's got her finger on the pulse, but being asked to remove her hand from the arm because it's a bit cougarish. Sorry, misread the situation. This PTA has gone terribly.
Yeah.
So the end of the Truman Show is like a classier version. It's like a classier version of like pull back and reveal.
Peter Weir directed it, who also did Dead Poets Society.
Oh.
And Gallipoli, Picnic at Hanging Rock, Mosquito Coast, and Witness. And Master and Commander. In case you're interested in that. And Andrew Nichol who wrote Gattaca as well, in case you've seen Gattaca. That's just something. That's just facts. Sorry to spoil this by making it about films.
We're having a lovely time, Rich.
I'm sorry.
Whoop, whoop.
Ed Harris was not the first choice. Dennis Hopper was the first choice, and he walked off set after one day apparently. So Ed
Why?
Harris came in. Didn't say why. Just said that he lost it when Dennis Hopper. Doesn't need a reason. He's a maverick. This is one of those films that I always think. Like we're saying, like other films. This is one of those films like Big, but you just need to have a sequel to find out what the fuck how they just dealt with.
Yeah.
So Truman Show 2.
films have
Oh no! Oh fuck! Everything's horrible.
Can I come back?
Oh no!
Please?
The Truman Show.
He's tried to escape, and they've manufactured a storm to keep him from running away. The storm lashes Truman, but he refuses to turn back. He ties himself to the wheel and the boat to keep the boat going onward. The storm passes, and a soaking wet Truman is on the boat with the sun shining. He unties himself and sets the boat up to carry on. Everyone in the control room is watching, in silent anticipation. The ship sails on, until it crashes into the wall of the set. Truman carefully examines it, finally realizing that he was right. Everything is not what it seems. He smashes the wall. We're trying to get through, but it won't budge. He can't get through, and he collapses, despondent, crying his eyes out. He then gets an idea and starts to walk along the edge of the wall looking for a door or something. He sees stairs and climbs up them. Panic in the control room. Christoph rushes over to a desk with tech.
I want to talk to him.
Truman has reached the door marked exit. Christoph takes a deep breath, a huge sigh, and stares at Truman, watching him on a monitor. Truman pushes the exit door open and a black hallway is revealed to him. Christoph calls to him, freaking Truman out.
Truman! You can speak. I can hear you.
The voice is coming from the Cleods. Typo. Almost as though a celestial being is doing it. Who are you?
I'm the creator of a television show that gives hope and joy
typo.
and inspiration to millions.
Then who am I?
You're the star.
Was nothing real?
You were real. That's what made you so good to watch.
Truman turns to go. Christoph stops him.
Listen to me, Truman. There's no more truth out there than there is in the world I created for you. The same lies, the same deceit. But in my world, you have nothing to fear. I know you better than you know yourself.
You never had a camera in my head.
You're afraid. That's why you can't leave. It's okay, Truman. I understand. I have been watching you your whole life. I was watching when you were born. I was watching when you took your first step. I watched you on your first day at school. The episode when you lost your first tooth. You can't leave, Truman.
Cut to his long-lost girlfriend, Sylvia, watching this on a screen, speaking along. Please, God.
You belong here.
You can do it.
With me. Talk to me. Say something. Well, say something, damn it! You're on television! You're live to the whole world!
Montage of the whole world. Then Truman. He turns and looks up at the camera. Long pause. Smile. In case I don't see you. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yeah. Christoph looks mortified. Truman is smiling. He takes a bow and walks out into the real world. Sylvia runs out of her house, hopefully to meet him. The world watching cheers, even though this now means their favourite TV show is over. Christoph takes his glasses off. His production centre is depressed. Philip Baker Hall leans over to Paul Giamatti.
Cease transmission.
Ceasing transmission. Static on all TV screens. Security guards watching TV eating pizza.
You want another slice?
No, I'm okay.
What else is on?
Yeah, let's see what else is on.
Where's the TV guide? End. Ladies and gentlemen, Nat Letzima! Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this, then please like my page on Facebook to get updates about live shows, podcast recordings and more. That's Richard Sandling's Perfect Movie. You can follow me on Twitter at squat_Betty. You can check out my YouTube videos at user ID Buckham39. And you can check out my website www.thatawesomemovieguide.com. Special thanks to the Geekatorium at geekatorium.net for all their help in recording and hosting this podcast. I've been Richard Sandling. That was Nat Luurtsema and Preston Nyman. This is Richard Sandling's Perfect Movie. Good night! Woo!